So what I want to talk about today is I just recently got me a Seestar S30, and I wanted to talk about some of the accessories and things that I got for it so that I can make full advantage of all of its features. The Seestar S30 comes with just the Seestar and the tripod. This folds out and becomes the tripod like this, and it comes with a sun filter, and that's right here in the top of the case. And so that's all it comes with, and to be very clear, that is all you need. You don't need any of these accessories that I'm going to show you, but I have found in the year that I've used my Seestar S50 that these things are helpful. And the first one I want to talk about is the tripod. And so this is a tripod that I got. The tripod I got for my S50 is one I inherited when my dad passed away, and he was a photographer, so he had one, and I just took it and had it in a closet. And then when I got the Seestar, figured out how to make it work, and it worked fabulous. On this tripod, I'm going to tell you the story of what I did. Is I went on Amazon and I wanted to find a cheap tripod because I didn't want to invest more in the tripod than the Seestar is even worth. Because tripods are expensive if you're buying a real fancy dancy one. And so I bought a cheap one. It was about $30. And then I came home, and when I got it and all these accessories, I made a video about it. And the tripod looked like it would be sufficient for what I did. Well, then a few days later, when the clouds cleared up, I tried that tripod and it was a piece of junk. The the dials, I'm not sure. Let's see. Let's make sure. The dials that were up here on the top of the one I got from Amazon were made of plastic, a hard plastic, but you couldn't tighten them enough without risking breaking those dials. And so this head was a little bit loose, and so that just wasn't going to work for doing the astrophotography that I want to do. I didn't want to risk putting my Seestar on there and having it bounce around because, the Seestar does rotate and the arm comes open and shut. And so I didn't want there to be that much vibration in this. Plus, I worried about breaking the screws that were in it. This part of it was also made of plastic. And so I really just didn't love that tripod, so I returned it. And then I had to figure out, well, what am I going to do instead? And so what I did is I should have done this in the very beginning. I went on to Facebook Marketplace and typed in tripod and found many tripods on there. Well, I didn't really know what they were like because you get a picture of them on Facebook. And so when I saw this one on Facebook Marketplace, I messaged the guy that was selling it. It was close to my home. I would have to go pick it up. But this one looked sturdy in the picture. It came with the box for it. It was obviously used. The box was kind of falling apart, but he wanted $10 for this. And so a third of the cost of that cheap one from Amazon. And so what I was looking for once I got the one from Amazon, I knew that I didn't want the dials that are up here to be plastic. I didn't want this to be plastic. I wanted it to be metal so it was more durable. I knew that most of the tripods, this little screw up here on the top is generally a 1/4 inch screw because they're designed and built for cameras. This one had this little square bolt on it, and that's just to keep the screw from falling through, keeps that on there. So what I did is I just messaged the guy and I asked him if the components of this tripod were plastic or metal. and he responded very quickly and said, "Oh, they're metal." He acted like he didn't know a whole lot about the tripod, and so I was a little nervous, but I was investing $10 in this thing, and this thing is heavy duty. And so for $10, I got one. The things I was looking for is I wanted everything up here to be metal, and then I wanted to be able to rotate the head. So I want to be able to move that head so I can get it in EQ mode. I wanted, like I said, most of these screws on the top are 1/4 inch. I haven't been able to find one that was 3/8. I did find some that if you unscrewed the head part of it, the 3/8 screw was down in here. But then if you put this little top gadgety thingy on it, it converted to 1/4. And so I wasn't too worried about that because I dealt with that with the other tripod I had. I wanted it to be sturdy and heavy duty, so I didn't want the legs to be plasticky or really like a lightweight aluminum. I wanted them to be fairly heavy duty, and these ones are. And so that's what I did. I invested $10 in this tripod. Let me raise you up a little. On Marketplace, I figured 1/3 of the cost of the cheap one from Amazon, that it was worth the risk for me to go and get it. And so I just did, and I've been very happy about it. And so that is what I have done. So $10 on Marketplace. Of course, the price varies. There were some on there that were hundreds of dollars. There were some on there for $50. This one happened to be on there for $10, and I snapped it up, and I'm thrilled because it's very heavy duty. The next thing that I needed to worry about is this screw up here on the top. Let me make sure that you're in line here. This screw up here is a 1/4 inch screw. And so we know that that's not going to fit our Seestar because we need a 3/8 of an inch screw coming out of here. So I did go on Amazon and I purchased this little adapter. Now I have bought adapters in the past that were just little round things that are about that tall that just screwed on here, that were made of I'm not sure if they were made of plastic or just an aluminum that they had spray painted black. They looked fine when I got them, but over time, the threads on the screw started wearing down. And so it made the connection to the Seestar very loose. So when I bought this one, I invested in this one. Let me tip you down so we're not getting the outside glare so much. This one was a little bit bigger around than those ones. And then all it does is this side screws on to this 1/4 inch screw and then converts to a 3/8 right up here. This one does have a little rubber gasket thing here. It is attached, glued on there. And so then it makes it so it doesn't slip and slide so much on the device. And so this was $5 on Amazon. So now I've invested $15 in an EQ system for my Seestar. And all this does is screw on here at the top. And then you can tighten it with this little dial under here to make sure it's good and tight. Oops, I was turning the wrong way and loosened it. And because you don't want this to be loose at all, because when you're moving the Seestar around, you don't want there to be a lot of give because the arm is rotating, and then once it settles, it can take a second for the vibrations in this to settle down so that it's not wobbling a little bit. I mean, it's just a minute wobble, but it can affect those first few images if it's still kind of vibrating. If there's a lot of give, just the mere wind or whatever you're setting it on can get vibrations. We do it on a deck, and if I'm walking out on the deck, I can get the vibrations here. And so now I just can take my Seestar and screw it right on there. and use these to tilt it to the EQ mode settings. I can tighten everything. You could loosen this bolt and it will tip this top head thing up if you need to. I never do. I just tip this part with this handle here so that I can move it around and level it to the degrees that it tells me to do the polar aligning. This does extend out. If I loosen this, there's a little handle here, so I can even turn this knob and it raises that even higher. And so this one has a lot of the features that I would need for doing EQ mode. This is not necessary. It is if you want to use EQ mode, you need something like this. It doesn't have to be this exact setup. Everybody's using different things. Some people are screwing them onto boards and permanently attaching them to railings of their deck or on their roof of their house or whatever. This is what I have found works perfect. So this is a $15 investment for me to be able to use my Seestar and do EQ mode. And I'm going to tip you down again to show you what else I've gotten. The next thing that I've gotten is, I've shown this before in other videos, but this is a power bank. And what it does is it has these attached cords on the back, and they will plug in to charge it, or you could plug it directly into the Seestar with the adapters that are on it, or you can plug them in the top. So all I do is I take the cord, I can get it out of the bag, and then I plug the cord from the Seestar right in the top of the battery, and then this end I plug right into the Seestar, and it charges that. And so you can see that it's turned on that battery pack, and it's kind of dark on the Seestar S30, but there are lights on there and it is charging the Seestar. And so I do use this when I use the plan. And what I have done is I just put this little handle thing over one of these dials and hang it from the tripod. Let me see. So I just hang this little loop handle over this little knob on the tripod, and then the Seestar is up here, so it has quite a bit of give from the cord. You want to make sure that the cord is set up so that it won't tangle around the Seestar as it rotates, just so that you don't tangle it up, because the cord can get tangled around here, and you don't want it to jam if it gets around where the Seestar turns, it can tighten it and not allow the Seestar to turn, and it can grind the gears on the bottom of the Seestar. On the bottom of the Seestar, this little round circle thing, it does have a plastic gasket in there too to prevent slipping, and it works really well with this adapter that I got from Amazon that has the plastic on it too, so it kind of tightens it together so that it doesn't slip. But if you get the cord wrapped around it when it's rotating and it gets in between here and the Seestar, it can grind those, and you don't want it to burn out those gears that are there to rotate the Seestar. So just make sure you have good clearance for the cord, and that setup seems to work great for me. So when I got the new Seestar, this battery pack that I have is one that I had for many years before I got the Seestar, and it was starting to not hold the charge quite as long as I liked. And so I did invest in a new battery pack. It looks like this. And this the specs on this is 20,000 milliamps. I think that's what the mAh is. For the electronic measurement. So this is a 20,000. I think you could get away with going with lower ones and they would be cheaper the lower the milliamps are. But I just duplicated this one, and this one is a 20,000 milliamps battery pack, and it's been working perfect. And so I just duplicated it and bought this one. But when I bought this one, I didn't realize, or I didn't notice, that it doesn't have the cord on it that I can hang on the tripod. So now I've got to figure out how to fix that. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use command strips. And I can't put the command strips on this side of the battery pack because it has these cords that pop out that you use for charging other devices. But I think I can put it right here, and then I can attach one to the tripod itself. And then I can just, these command strips are like Velcro. And so this would permanently stay on here and on the tripod. And this one would permanently stay on the front of the battery pack. And then when I wanted to use it, I could just Velcro it to the tripod. And so those were the things that I bought to get my Seestar ready to image. And they've worked out great. I haven't tried the Velcro strips yet. So I guess I don't know. I had used the battery pack, just putting it on a surface that was near the tripod and then attaching the cord to it. But I haven't tried the Velcro, but I will give that a go here soon. I will have to be careful to mount it low enough so that it doesn't interfere with any of the dials that are on the tripod. So, well, that's how I'm going to try and use the battery pack. And these, you can just buy these command strips on Amazon. You can get them at Walmart. Any of the stores have them, and you can take them on and off multiple times. You just stick them together, and then when you apply a little force or pressure, they stick together like Velcro. And then this back label comes off, and that's what you will stick to the tripod or the battery pack. And then I could permanently attach, well, not temporarily attach a battery pack to my tripod. And that's how I'm going to do my battery pack. So the only investments that I made in the Seestar S30, and they were totally optional, was the little adapter that goes on the top of the tripod to convert it to the 3/8 inch screw head, and the battery pack, and the tripod. And the tripod, I don't want to tell you what to get because everybody's preferences may be a little different, but I would recommend getting one that is all metal, is sturdy, so that when it is open, and if you have to angle it down, depending on where you are, you may have to angle it very far down. You may want to get something different than what I needed for my area. This is about the angle of mine. I don't know if you can see it. Let me make sure you can. My angle is at 49 degrees, and so I have to angle it to 41 in the Seestar app, and that's about the angle that I have to do. And then I just have to turn it left or right to get the polar alignment numbers to match up. But some people, they're lower in the sky and they have to do it like this. So you would want your tripod to definitely be able to handle the weight of the Seestar as it comes out here. You don't want it to topple your tripod, but get a sturdy one. This one does enlarge up to about 70 inches, so it's plenty tall. So that's what I would look for in a tripod, is all metal on the top and sturdiness, and making sure that it expands enough so that it gives you more of a balance with the Seestar hanging off the edge. The Seestar is only about 3 pounds for the S30, probably 4 or 5 for the S50. So you don't need a super duper one. It also helps to angle this so that the Seestar angles over one of the legs of the tripod. So those are the only things that I bought to enhance the usage of my Seestar S30. I will link the adapter thing in the description. I'll link to the Amazon where I bought this one. I will link the battery pack. I do like this one because all those cords are stored in here. So I can use it to charge my phone. I can use it to charge the Seestar. I can use it for an Android device. And then I can use it. This plug here will charge it. So I just unplug that when I bring it in every night and plug it into a USB port, and then it charges the battery pack. You can also charge it with a cord on the top, and there's a couple options of corded charging on the top. I've really enjoyed using these. I think if I were looking again, I would look for one with the little loopy thing, because that would eliminate the need for a command strip or some way of attaching the battery pack to the tripod. But outside of that, those are the optional things that I got. And just again, all of these things that have showed you are optional. You can do the Seestar with just what came in the box. The Seestar and the tripod is all you need. But if you want to do EQ mode or put it out on a plan and have the battery last all night, you may want some of these optional accessories. And so I'll put a link in the description. If you haven't yet bought a Seestar, I'll put a link, an affiliate link in the description where you can buy the Seestar on the ZWO website. That just supports the channel and lets Seestar know that we are supporters of them, and then they can send us more stuff and we can do more experiments. But we appreciate everybody watching, and we're hoping you have clear skies. Tonight we're doing a star party with our local astronomy club, and it's out in a darker area for us, and so I'm excited to go try that. They've been doing that once a month all summer, and every single time we've got clouded out, but it's looking very good for tonight. So I'm hoping to do some recording at the star party so you can see what that's like, but we'll see if people are willing to let me record them or not, but we'll see. Well, we're wishing everybody else clear skies, and thanks for watching.